All right, hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Grosvenor, and this is my final reflective practice portfolio presentation. Start with a tongue twister. My reader is Dr. Patel, and my advisor is Dr. Sanders. My abstract for my research project. This research seeks to identify ways that student artists can be taught and introduced to methods and tools that allow not only greater feelings of success in their artistic practice, but also lower failure rates and frustration in the digital arts class. I'm a digital arts teacher. Through my abstract here, my background. I am the second son of three of working class parents raised on a small farm in rural Ohio. My father was educated at a Bible seminary. My mom worked at a factory. Um, I personally am a middle aged white heterosexual male who has been politically aware of the raised alertness of the social injustice slowly growing louder over the past 30 or 40 years. I am aware of white privilege, including my own, and of the intersectionality facing other class, race, gender, and differently abled persons in America. I am a father and married to a successful woman with a degree in finance, business, and women's studies, a strong factor on my beliefs on female empowerment. I'm also an educator, but one who comes to this field late in my career, having been a freelance artist, illustrator, and designer for 20 years. I carry all of these traits into my identity as a teacher. My teaching philosophy is based in the belief that talent is an accumulation of problem solving practice, not some magical trait bestowed at birth. Demystifying artistic practice is part of my research interest and teaching practice. Part of that demystification is the ability to connect a love for art into artistic career by way of higher education. I went to a small rural public school and had no idea how to connect a art education with a love for art, or because I never saw it. And an art teacher changed my life. So that is very much part of my teaching philosophy and how I view teaching. My research introduction. I came to the problem I arrived at. The students I encountered at the school I was teaching at expressed a perceived lack of ability and artistic skill and ultimately succumbed to that perception, causing their efforts of participation to trail off. That's how I got here. I The course in this Universal Design for Learning really impacted my teaching and how I approach this as well. So we'll talk about that as we move forward. Okay. The question that my research asks is: in what ways does technology improve students' feelings of success in the visual arts? Is it possible to employ processes and technology to raise students' feelings of success in the visual arts? Again, I'm a digital arts teacher. All right, my methodology, I used an art-based action research plan. We'll go into that a little bit more here in a second. The research plan was implemented over the course of the 21-22 school year in my Digital Art 2 character design and storytelling course. I did observations, collected artifacts, and allowed students to complete exit texts on assignments and overall course evaluation surveys, engaging how they feel about their artistic progression and how they feel best supported in their practice on each lesson throughout the semester. My literature review. I found three themes in my literature review that were important to my research and what I was doing. One was bolstering creativity. In the early 2000s, iPads came out and everybody thought they were going to change everything. And there was all this noise about how they were going to do that. So I had to kind of sort through that because that didn't actually happen. But Sakur in 2019 and her fellow researchers sought to investigate if touchscreens such as iPads facilitate, collaborate, and create collaborative and creative drawing activities and young children. And their research supported that, and many other research supported that as well, that just introducing and being introduced to technology can bolster creativity. So I looked at that as an advantage in what I could use in my research. If kids are coming into my digital art class and they're already excited, that's a bonus. Traditional versus digital. I very much, as a working artist, always use traditional means and a complex digital application as well. Was this something that could also be explored? And is one better than the other? In the British Journal of Educational Technology in 2017, Sulele is probably messing up that name. Concluded that art making should not be seen as a distinctive divide where an artist needs to choose either traditional or digital methods, and not seen as some kind of dichotomy, as it's either a one or the other. So a balanced approach was best, and that is what I use in my classroom and chose to apply to my research. Permissions in art making. If students come into the class and they think all these things are disallowed, it's going to affect them. In 2018, the writings by Secure and the viewpoint of permissions, these artworks should be looked completely different if the child were in the belief that either by direct information or inference that the use of certain items was not allowed. Thus, permissions and allowance are necessary for students to feel comfortably creative. Moving on down here. My research presentation, using an art space action research to investigate and make changes. I worked with digital art students in the character design storytelling class for my 21-22 school year to make changes in the curriculum. The question that guided this research is, in what ways does technology improve students' feeling success in the visual arts? All right. The teaching environment I work in West Carrollton High School, just south of Dayton. It's very much a blue collar population, high factory working area. My physical classroom is a Mac workstation room, which is a dual space for the mural club that I run. So here is a detail of my mural. There's my classroom. We were working on a large mural there, and another view here which shows the Mac workstations. So as a digital art teacher, I am blessed that I only ever have 24 students, but my making up for that with my mural club, which is complete chaos all the time. My objective goal in lesson, this research focused on the third lesson, the character design unit. In my character design class, the learning objective of this lesson plan was create a character inspired by an object. Consider the shape, texture, style, and qualities of this object for the inspirational object for your design. The aesthetic goal is to create an interesting and original character with storytelling elements. They created mood boards, did sketches, and all in the preparation of making these images. Grades were based 50% on the preparation of those sketches, notes, idea boards, and drafts, and 50% on the final artistic project created digitally. I've got some facts and figures here, some data that was recorded from there. This was from the first iteration. Halfway through the semester, the students filled out a questionnaire. On this, some highlights. A majority of the students reported high levels of effort in the course, and although about half reported poor or fair self-perceived skills and artistic ability, majority reported satisfactory or better by the end of the quarter, with hopes to improve by the end of the course. So there's lots of breakdown of that. Some breakdown of questions. This one's always interested me. Were you actually interested in this course, or did you just get put in here because your counselor shoved it in here? And most of them are interested in the course. The second set of data is at the end of the semester, where they come in and they fill this out after they're done with the course and how they feel. Again, high numbers of the students reported their effort and skills reported improved and attributed to techniques, digital and traditional, as the highest contributor gain of the efficacy. There's more of those, and kind of exit tickets on how they would have changed the course and everything. Lots of I don't knows. Here are some collected artifacts here. This is some exemplary sketching done by some of the students here in the digital art creative, the character design course. Here are some examples of some of the art boards they do. These are great. It's just like, put anything on there you find as inspiration for color schemes, shading, character design, anything like that. Some exemplary examples of finished products that do a great job at storytelling and fulfilling the lesson plan. Here I've got some coded artifacts where we've got some initial sketches along with the art direction given them, and then they're coded to see which ones followed that direction, how they felt about the project when they were finished there. Analysis: approach my data with a layered analytical framework, looking for recurring themes in the data and implementing an action plan in my coursework to raise students' feelings of success in my courses. This valued data informed my action plan to implement change informed by a universal design for learning to seek ways to remove obstacles from student learning and feelings of success. Themes I found in my analysis were self-reported success, not only through the questionnaires, but also just in our informal critiques we would do. Students regularly told me that, they felt good about this. I felt like I did a good job. Another one was those permissions to gain efficacy. Can I borrow this composition? Can I borrow this different composition or color scheme? My action plan. The reflexive practice informs all of my courses, curriculum development, and my choices. From this data and research, I fully support a balance of traditional drawings and sketches to skills to support a digital art practice that is successful. I've expanded the traditional methods in places, but accomplished them through digital drawing techniques when possible, allowing for skill building in both areas. Identifying ways to employ UDL and remove barriers is also part of the action plan, offering options, choices, and varied paths to success. Permissions have been identified and thus far are granted at 100% average. As we have a class, have not found a student request, query, or suggestion that we have not been able to implement. Additionally, students are encouraged to seek alternative routes to achieve the learning objectives when they are encountered. Creative experimentation is rewarded, even if it ends up unsuccessful as an unsuccessful project. Past learning is always reinforced to better support a framework from which students can progress their skills and learning. Choice has been added to every lesson plan to offer students options for how they choose to accomplish their learning objectives through character design and storytelling. This is an added extra element of enthusiasm to the character creation process. If we crowdsource, because we essentially crowdsource that with the students, we sit in here like, well, let's come up with 5 different options, and we then we flesh them out on different options to share with everybody. So that's a fun part of the class. My reflection. First of all, I was lucky to have a great group of students to work with in this class. Um, so I'm very thankful for that. By giving my students an uncomplicated way of putting their sketchbook work and ideas directly into Photoshop using simple tools like their smartphones that they all have, I think is a great way to advance their feelings of success. In my synthesis, I observed my students, and I got that basically from this research class in its several iterations, and they really reward me and show me how to be a better teacher. Just having discussions with my kids on a regular basis where I sit down, what frustrates about it? They're very open to share, like, you're a terrible teacher, Mr. G, I can't stand you. So that's very helpful. Critical coursework I took here, Dr. Acuff's multicultural art education was very informative. The writings of Bettina L. Love were spectacular. I'm hyper aware of my students and their specific situations and where they're being asked to get an education. I also was heavily influenced by the Universal Design for Learning by Dr. Eisenhower Richardson. And again, once you start to see those obstacles, which I did not see before, they're everywhere. And removing those obstacles and making my kids better learners is what I strive to do. I strive to better know my students, both as a population and individual, to make them better learners. I've thoroughly enjoyed this course. I thoroughly enjoyed working with all of you throughout this course, and I wish you all success. Thank you so very much. Have a super duper day.